meeting here with prime time or news talk or anything like that. It's meet the candidates. It isn't insult the candidates, it's not savage the candidates, it's not anything like that. It's not interrupt the candidates either. So I want to welcome the candidates. We have 3 candidates here on the right hand side who are all gentlemen, and 3 on the left hand side who are all ladies. And it reminds me of the original incarnation of this venue as a dance hall, when the men were on one side and the women were on the other side. Now, if my memory serves me right, I think it was the other way around when this used to be a dance hall, that the women were over on that side. I remember being here anyway, making a journey across that way, so I hope the women were on that side. We have 6 candidates that are here, all 13 candidates that are in the Claremorris local electoral area that are on the ballot paper were invited here. Some of them haven't arrived yet. We hope that they will. So each candidate will be given between 3 and 5 minutes at the start to introduce themselves, to set out their stall and to tell us who they are and what they're about, or whatever they want to spend that 3 to 5 minutes with. We won't be interrupting them and we won't be heckling them, and if they say anything that annoys us, we'll hold it for a while to give everybody else a chance as well. Then that will be followed by a question and answer session which will come through me. So there will be a microphone down the floor. You'll get a chance to put any questions you have to the candidates, and again we'll be respectful and mannerly along that, and I thank you for that. Now, because this is essentially a radio programme, every speaker, just before you, the candidates will be doing it anyway, but anybody from the audience that's asking a question, please say your name at the start, because that will be important. The people who will be listening to this won't actually be looking at all of you, so they won't know who they are. And then if any candidate wants to get in then on any of the questions or anything, if you just raise your hands or whatever, I'll take you in the order in which that you expressed an interest. So does that seem fair enough, ladies and gentlemen, on the candidates here? Are you happy enough with that? We're not looking for a battle or anything like that. The battle will be in the ballot paper and out at the doors and things like that. It won't be in here. Now, what other point have that I wanted to say here? Yes, regarding the questions from the floor, I want to stress again that the questions from the floor are just that, questions from the floor. They're not speeches from the floor. So I'll be sharp enough on that if you don't mind. Whatever your question is, make your point quickly, get your question in there, and again, there'll be no, we won't be abusing anybody. All of the candidates that are here are not elected representatives at this stage. So they cannot be held responsible really for what their parties did or didn't do, because they weren't elected, and they won't be held accountable for that. So anyway, that's enough from me. Is everybody clear on that? Are you ready to go on this side here? Are you ready to go on this side here? Brilliant. That's fantastic. So I'm going to set the timer here and introduce our first candidate, who is Árón Kelly, and Árón will tell us about himself. We're going to take it from that side.
So, how you doing, everybody? My name's Árón Kelly. I am Derry born and bred. I came down the west about 25 years ago. What? Stick with that. Bit echoey there. Okay. Came down the west about 25 years ago, and I've been in Garrymore, so I live in Garrymore, and I've been there now, I think 8 or 9 years now at this point. I suppose the first thing I'm running as an independent candidate under the Irish People Party. I'll talk about that a little bit in a second, but the bottom line here is I am not a politician. I was just actually talking to Mark here about this, and we looked around. I was expecting a lot more people, I was expecting a lot more candidates, and I was just saying, doesn't this appear to be kind of an indication of how disillusioned people are with politics today? And I am one of those people. I am an ordinary Irish man who has been watching what has been happening to our country, particularly over the last 2 years of acceleration, and I look at our current political parties and I just think, well, what are you doing? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is why I decided to run. There was nobody actually running concerned with the issues that I was concerned about. So I just need to quickly, I suppose, because Irish people are a new political party, not a lot of people know an awful lot about us. So the party was formed last year. As I say, it's a group of independents. So within Irish people, there are 7 core principles. I'm just going to quickly flick through them here now. It's priority for Irish people in all social housing, sensible immigration policies, the end of the woke indoctrination of our children in schools, Irish neutrality, freedom of speech, and supporting rural and farming communities in Ireland. These are kind of the high-level policy guidelines, if you like, core principles of Irish people. And then, assuming that you are on board, that these align with your values, then you can run as an independent, and you have freedom of, you can say what you like, you have freedom of voice and actions, and most importantly, votes. I suppose kind of just banging there at the end as well, that when it comes to family values, what that actually means, we're talking pro-choice, or sorry, pro-life, pro-life. Now, those are all very high level. Am I doing okay in time? These are all very high level policies. These are kind of things that I think are needed Ireland-wide. But obviously, running as a local candidate now, we're not going to be able to achieve very much of that. So what am I offering on a local level? I started basically I'm documenting everything here now. The problem, one of the main problems I see, there's a lot of problems, but one of the main problems I see at the moment with Mayo County Council is a lack of transparency about what's going on in our communities. For example, they say the Belmont Hotel the other day, we just found out that is now going to become an iPass centre as well. And we find out in our communities about these things through rumours on WhatsApp groups. This is not acceptable. So on a local level, that's my step 1. If I can get into Mayo County Council, I will be documenting everything. I will be trying to get to the bottom of this. A few months back, Mayo County Council passed a resolution to say they were going to cease all cooperation with Roderick O'Gorman's department when it came to the housing of immigrants and Ukrainians and economic migrants and all the rest of it. What they didn't add was that doesn't matter anyway, because the elected representatives appear to have no power in Mayo County Council whatsoever in this regard. It seems to be directly from Roderick O'Gorman's office to the Director of Services in the administration of Mayo County Council. So that confuses the life out of me. I'm an ordinary man. I want answers. At the very least, I want the people of Claremorris to be told what is happening in their communities. So that is kind of the main unique selling point, if you like, for me in terms of the local level. I have a YouTube channel I only just started a couple of weeks ago where I'm documenting my whole campaign, and if elected into Mayo County Council, I will be absolutely continuing that and videoing, recording, and getting the answers that I think a lot of people in Claremorris want. I think that's my overall. I have leaflets here if you want to kind of look a little bit more. 3 to 5 minutes is not my niche. And as I say, if you want to go get even more details, I have the YouTube channel up now where I have kind of deep dives on each of the policies and kind of just showing the whole process as I've gone through. And I'll continue that in Mayo County Council. I think that's my 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you very much for listening, folks. Thank you.
Well done, Aaron.
Thank you very much indeed, Aaron, for that. And now we have Mark Devan.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Devan. A little bit about myself. I'm a married father of 3, 6, 3.5 and 4 months old. I'm a small dairy farmer between Irishtown and Ballandine. I'm a first time candidate and I'm running for Independent Ireland Party. My life experiences are what will make me a good county councillor. I'm a qualified carpenter. I've worked all over Ireland. I've worked over the UK and Australia. In the UK, I was putting up timber frame houses, north to south. I worked with engineers, surveyors, health and safety, everyone along that line. In Australia, I was working in mine site camp construction. And then in the finish, before I came home, I was working on social housing in Aboriginal communities, renovations mainly. Again, I had to work alongside engineers, architects, surveyors, health and safety, everyone like that. And I got on well with them. We worked well together. It wasn't always easy. You have to learn to give and take. You have to negotiate in a respectful way. Push your points, but be willing to learn and, as I said, negotiate. And that worked well for me. And I believe that would be an invaluable asset in the County Council. Sorry, I'm just checking my notes as I'm speaking. So in 2020, I came home when my father got sick and I took over the farm. I know the struggles of farming. Jesus, I know them well. Between, we'll say, nitrates, regulation, red tape, we're price takers, not price givers. All this needs to change, but it takes time and it takes working together. An awful lot of overheads and problems that are in the farming community are in small businesses all around. I'm hearing it on the doors. Everyone's struggling. We're all working harder for less. We need to try and fix that situation. So what can I bring to the table? I believe I'm a proactive person. I like to plan ahead in regards to my family and my business. I'm a level-headed person. I believe I communicate well, and I'm a realist. There are a lot of issues facing this country: immigration, housing, healthcare. They're not going to be easily fixed, but we have to start somewhere. We have to stop the train in the direction it's going. And the first way to get change is to hit the brakes and start again. I'm here to listen and I want to learn. And I'm looking forward to listening to your concerns and you giving your opinions and asking me for my opinion. And I'll give you my opinion. It'll be straight. I won't waffle. You like it or you don't, you'll get it straight from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much indeed. Next we have Paul Lawless. Here.
Hello, great. Firstly, I just want to start by thanking the organisers for the event this evening. Philip and his staff in Claremorris Community Radio. It's a fantastic organisation. They do great work and they really cover a really important remit in terms of public broadcasting and in local stories. So thank you so much to Claremorris Radio and indeed the town hall staff as well. A lot of work went into it, promoting it, organising it, and you know, it's a very important event. It's a public forum for candidates to put forward their platform to the electorate. And I think it's frankly really disappointing to see no elected councillors here this evening. You know, there are serious questions that our elected reps must answer. We held a public meeting last night. Questions that have arisen from a leaked document, questions that we know that they've sat on information around IPAS centres in our communities, and yet those councillors have told the public they know nothing about what's happening. The leaked documents suggest otherwise, and since that has happened, those councillors have effectively gone into hiding. You know, on the eve of an election, in an important forum like this, and I'm looking here in the crowd this evening, and I know many of you have questions for your councillors, and questions that you deserve answers to. And it's despicable that those councillors have decided to snub not just the people of Claremorris Community Radio, and not just people of the town hall who spent days and weeks organising this event, but you, the voter. Correct. And, you know, it's not good enough. It's not good enough that our councillors have gone into hiding in the weeks before the election. Look, I want to introduce myself. Paul Lawless is my name. I'm running with Ain 2. and running with Aintree because I believe, frankly, the current political establishment are not listening to our communities, not listening to communities around the immigration situation, the cost of living situation, which has presented itself at almost every door, and yet this government introduced carbon taxes and continue to do so. And I think the referendum was another example of a government that's out of touch, a government that's wasted over 20 million euros of your money in effectively a virtue signalling campaign. I think it's time to address the issues that we're facing in terms of immigration, housing, the cost of living, and indeed the farming situation as well. I suppose I've been working really hard over the past number of years, working on, for example, the health situation, taking literally hundreds of people off waiting lists, bringing them to Belfast through the cataract bus, and I'll continue to work to ensure that nobody is left on years on a waiting list in this constituency. People who effectively are at the, senior adults who can't wait 2 or 3 years to get, a basic surgery like cataracts. People who can't, leave it 2 or 3 years before they can read or drive. I also want to work on the situation with regards to housing. It's a very big issue, obviously here and right across the country. There are 2,500 people on waiting lists in this county, and yet there are 65 vacant local authority homes. And I've done quite a bit of research into this over the past few months, and on average it takes the local authority 8 months to turn around a property for reletting. Meanwhile, it takes just 3 weeks in the private sector. And I think that we need a councillor that will actually hold the officials in Mayo County Council to account. We need to ensure that the reletting system is massively speeded up. I know of a property here in Claremorris that has been vacant for several months now and needs very, very little work indeed. The other issue is we need to campaign to ensure that the planning system is significantly speeded up. The idea that the government have said, well, the planning system takes too long for IPAS centres, so we're just going to introduce the planning circumvention for wealthy property developers. Meanwhile, you and I, as normal, regular citizens, must go through an extremely long, lengthy, expensive planning process. The solution here is to speed up that process, adequately resource that process, and ensure Ondor Panola delays are a thing of the past.
Speaking of speeding up now, Paul, that's your 5 minutes. Is that all right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll move on now to my left here and to Alma Gallagher.
Thank you, Chairperson, fellow candidates, ladies and gentlemen. I'm absolutely delighted to be here this evening at this fantastic event. And I'd also like to thank the Town Hall, who are a fantastic community-based organisation supported by the Community Services Programme. So well done on organising such a fantastic event. My name is Alma Gallagher. I'm a native of Ballyhonus. Indeed, I'm no stranger to Claremorris. I've worked in Claremorris for the last 19 years, just across the road there, managing Clore IRD. As someone who has volunteered and worked professionally in rural and community development all my life, formerly as Development Officer for North Mayo and West Sligo, and now in my role as Manager of Clore IRD, I believe I work in areas that most concern our community. I have spent several years working with Leader, developing the Leader programme, delivering the Leader programme when I was employed by Moy Valley Resources, and also delivering the Local Development Social Inclusion programme, working with specific target groups, disadvantaged groups such as older people, people with disabilities and disadvantaged youth. I also now in my role, I work with Clore IRD. I deliver the Warmer Home Scheme, delivering fuel poverty measures, delivering attic insulation, cavity wall insulation, and providing advice on how to access the funds from Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. I provide supports to rural SMEs, from farmers wishing to diversify and add value to their agribusiness, to entrepreneurs wishing to avail of enterprise supports. I work in business for business. I manage DigiSpace in Claremorris and also incubation units at the old bacon factory here in Claremorris. I manage social housing, work in social housing. I applied to the Department of Environment and Housing for $5.5 million to build 36 social houses just down the road here in Mayfield Lake Development, and also manage another 25 units up here at the Lawn. I also manage one-off houses as well, in terms for those people that just need a helping hand in terms of affordability and that are disadvantaged. I deliver services on behalf of the Department of Social Protection. I work with the Community Employment Scheme, employing 25 participants here locally. And I also work with farmers as well through the Rural Social Scheme. I work with local contractors on the ground as well, stimulating the local supply chain of goods and services, working with contractors to make sure that they have the knowledge and expertise to register with Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland and stimulating that local supply chain here locally. I have retrofitted and was responsible for retrofitting over 4,000 houses here locally, from Belmullet up to Ballymun. As a candidate, I've already started working to achieve my goals, advocating for the completion of the Ballyhonus Primary Healthcare Centre and the reinstatement of funds for the N60 from the National Transport Authority, and improving rural roads benefiting from the recent changes of the LIS scheme. As a representative on Mayo County Council's approved housing forum, I will continue to work to deliver increased affordable and social housing. I will ensure increased investment in our towns and villages, combating dereliction and transforming vacant buildings to spaces used by community, youth and sporting organisations. By working with the CLOR programme, the Town Centre programme and the Village Renewal Scheme. I will advocate for the rights of farmers to bring the formulation of farm policies closer to the farm gate. I will continue to advocate for increased supports for our businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a credible candidate who has earned her right of passage to be here this evening to ask you for your support. Throughout my life, I have made every effort to invest in myself so I can give the best back to the communities I serve. And I was what they describe these days as a mature student. And while working full-time and raising a family, I studied and was awarded a master's degree from the University of Limerick, completing my thesis on the role of local authorities and the development of social housing. I hold qualifications in business development, social enterprise and training and education. Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves in extraordinary times and we need extraordinary candidates. I am a multifaceted candidate with several strings to her bow with a proven track record in delivery. And I'm asking you for your support here this evening as I face into the local elections on June the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Árón. Our next candidate is Geraldine Kelly.
Everybody, I'd like to thank Claremorris Town Hall to give me this opportunity because it's my first time running and I only launched on the 3rd of May, 26 days ago. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Geraldine Moran, a native Rathredmond Ballinrobe, daughter of Michael Moran Rathredmond and the late Margaret Moran, who my mum passed away 17 months ago, a native Ceallaigh, Westport. I've been living and working in the Ballinrobe area all my life. I'm an active coordinator of Ballinrobe Neighbourhood Watch for over 14 years. And I have previously helped and supported Ballinrobe tidy towns for a number of years. I think as there's 7 candidates missing, I think they don't have this on their agenda, but it's my main priority. I've been going to the doors for the last 26 days and people are afraid. People have the doors locked. The amount of people that have CCTV cameras in their homes and will not let me in is absolutely frightening. Nobody here tonight has spoken about law and order, and I think it should be the top priority, because I don't feel safe in my hometown of Ballinrobe. For anybody that doesn't know about Ballinrobe, I'll let you give you a brief synopsis here tonight. In the last 6 weeks, there's been 4 break-ins, 2 shootings, 1 stabbing, and a van stolen outside a private residence last Friday evening. We don't have the guards. I was in Claremorris guard station last Tuesday, and the guard said, "Do you know what, Geraldine? I'll take that leaflet and I'll put it up in the glass." And he said, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart for raising this serious issue in South Mayo, and you're the only one that's doing it. And for that," he said, "I give you my number 1. So if a guard tells you he has no confidence in Drew Harris, the guard commissioner, he's no confidence in Helen McAtee, we're in dire straits here in the west of Ireland in South Mayo. I came off a plane from a funeral on the 6th of May, and I rocked into Knock, and I went out into a shop, and she seen my leaflet for law and order. The 2 women said, "You're getting my number 1. I was absolutely taken back because they didn't know me from Adams, and I said, "Why?" And she said, "A guy came into here a few days ago and he exposed himself to young kids and myself." And I said, "Do not ring 999. And she says, "What's the point?" And I said, "That's the job at the Gardaí." She said, "There's no Gardaí here." She said, "Knock Garda station only open for 4 hours on a Sunday. They're not here." And I said, "With the high population of tourists, why aren't they here?" And she said, "Mayo should not be in with Roscommon and Longford." And I have personal experience, because I did the Ballinrobe protest, and I spoke to the superintendent from Longford, and I gave him directions back at 2:30 in the morning on the 6th of January 2024, in fog and in bad frost. I gave him directions to go from Ballinrobe to Claremorris into Charlestown, take the 3rd exit, and you get safely back to Longford. Now, if a superintendent doesn't know how to get back to Longford, he shouldn't be coming down to Mayo. He shouldn't be responsible for 170 towns and villages in Mayo, Roscommon and Longford. And I am appealing to all the councillors in all of County Mayo, and especially the ex-Garda, Christy Hyland, who has been campaigning and has not been listened to, and he has my full support. And I want County Mayo taken out of Mayo, Roscommon and Longford, and we have our own Garda division, and get law and order back in South Mayo. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine. And our, well, at this stage anyway, our final candidate is Sandra Sweetman.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm not a local. I'm from Dublin. I moved down here 17 months ago from Rush, County Dublin and Swords, where I was living for 15 years. I'd like to thank everyone for giving us a warm welcome, and good luck to all our fellow candidates. So let's talk about Sandra. I'm now 47, it's gone. I decided 2 years ago, during COVID, living in Dublin, working in Beaumont, in CCU, Blanchardstown, etc., wherever I was needed, that I wanted to move out of the country. And I didn't know where I was going to live in the country, but I wanted to move out and change. So that dream became a reality after a little bit of just chopping and changing and settling down now. I've always had a huge interest in politics and the environment from a very young age, I think from the age of about 10. My dad is always telling me I talk too much, even so when I was 2, and he still tells me that 45 years later. But my dad actually is one of my role models. He actually, even though he was Fianna Fáil and not everyone agrees in their politics, I was steeped in politics from Fianna Fáil years, my dad, and speaking up for women's rights and that, and children's rights, and I was always writing down something or remembering something or reading something. So I decided to go into nursing, and I spent about 20 odd years, and still in nursing, and for caring for people, but also empowering people and giving them their independence. I studied, did a couple of degrees in that abroad, initial training, and I did paediatric nursing for 13 years, which I thoroughly enjoyed at home and abroad. I've worked in France, I've worked in England, and I've worked in Ireland. And I also did a little bit of teaching English as a foreign language, just for a few bob in France when you weren't entitled to anything unless you did 800 hours of community service or any kind of service. Unemployment. And the Irish Embassy wouldn't help me unless I was going to prison, because I had a boyfriend at the time and I was settled in France, so I didn't have any entitlements. So I've always had an interest in education and health, and particularly disabilities as well. So my logo at one stage when I ran in Fingal, 2019, 2020, use your head, vote for me, HEAD, health, education, disabilities. I'm not a political party. I've just called Sanders Party, or Sanders Vote for Number 1 Independent. And I definitely believe health, education, disabilities will help people in our communities as well, and to be aware. And obviously there's a lot of people who cannot read and write even in 2024. And my biggest problem is the health service. Obviously I've worked in many health services in Ireland, England and France, and we do pay a lot of taxes, and we do deserve a better community care service. We've had so many green papers, white papers on mental health and community care over the years, and it's now time to put this into action, not to spend money on reports after reports. Obviously I do miss living in Dublin and the high life and that, but there is a nice place down in the community in here in Claremorris, and thank you everyone for welcoming. I've joined a few societies. I've joined the gym, and I joined even in the parish choir, and they haven't kicked me out yet. I'm still there 6 or 8 months later. And I also get involved in the Tidy Towns, because I was in Tidy Towns and Swords, and I feel it's good to be part of the community and to get involved. And what else can I say? I don't want to go on too long. I'm an advocate as well, and I'm a hard worker. I'm like somebody described the last election. I'm like a terrier. I won't let go until I either win or get my point across or have the last word. But I regularly firmly believe in negotiation, meetings, sending emails and liaising with people rather than, and peaceful protests as well. But obviously democracy is important and people to be listened to. I'm not saying I can fix everything. I'm not a political party, but I'll do my level best to help the community and for the community to work with me. And I wish all my fellow candidates, even though some are not here, the best of luck. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Sandra. So, have we any questions from the floor? We'll take a question from the floor. We have a gentleman here in the middle, and we'll take this gentleman. So, again, just to reiterate regarding the questions from the floor, the rules of engagement: you state your name and you ask the question. It's not an opportunity for speech. I'm not suggesting that man or anything, but anybody. It's just to ask the question to the candidates, and we put the questions to the candidates. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Colin Árón, and I live in Knock. And I'm going to ask 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6 of you that turned up tonight, what are you going to do to stop the IPA centres happening in Knock? Not just one, but 2 at the moment. We already have one, so that'll be 3 in total in Knock. That's a lot of people in a very, very small village.
Okay.
So each one of you, what are you going to do about it?
Okay, so the question is, what are the candidates going to do to stop the centres in Knock? We'll start with Paul Lawless, who raised that subject in his introduction. And Paul, what will you do?
Thank you very much, Colin, for the question. Look, it's a big issue. It's an issue that's coming up on so many doors, and yet the political bubble, like we've seen so often, is unwilling and unable to even engage the subject. A few weeks ago, the government called into a threat to social cohesion for parliamentary questions around, deportation orders, around asking the Minister for State how many deportation orders are actually enforced, and shockingly, the 85% of deportations are never enforced, and the state has no idea whether those people have actually left the country or not. So I do believe that we have been to the fore in terms of highlighting the issues in the system around deportation orders, around the processing time, around the lack of travel documents, that over 5,000 people coming through Dublin Airport are coming and without valid travel documents. But at a local level, what I will do is I will be honest and I will be transparent. And that's something that our current councillors cannot say in relation to this, because we know that they have had information and refused to bring it into the public domain. No doubt, perhaps...
Do we know for an absolute fact that they had the information?
The information was circulated to them in July 2023 through the Director of Services at Mayo County Council.
Okay.
And that fact has not been disputed by any. And in fact, I can see people here from Knock who I'm sure want to ask that question. And those people have a right to ask that question. And you know, people knock on your door and ask for your vote. And I think the least we can expect as an electorate is honesty and transparency. Remember, the reason why councillors have received this information is not for the benefit for themselves, but for the benefit of their communities. So I will be honest and I will be transparent. I will ensure the local community knows what's happening in their community.
Okay, Árón Gallagher, what will you do?
Yes, it is a big question, and I wasn't at the meeting in Knock yesterday evening. I had intended to go, but I suppose looking at it like everything else, some candidates had presented the potential IPAS centre, that there was hundreds of refugees fleeing to Knock. And the type of politics I believe in is positive politics. I don't believe to go into rural communities and I suppose cause hysteria. Last night's meeting, I believed, originally was meant to be organised by the community for the community, but it wasn't. That's the first point. The second, it was yourself, Paul, that organised it. Yeah.
We won't interrupt. We won't interrupt.
Yeah,
no,
we're not going to
take it at the end,
interrupt.
Paul.
Originally, it was organised by the community for the community, and Paul, it was advertised then that you were organising the meeting. I suppose, what can we do to stop? We are local candidates. We want to become local representatives. And our world is very much changing, and we are dictated very much by global geopolitics. We can't on one hand sit at the kitchen table watching the television and saying to ourselves, isn't it awful what's happening out in Palestine? Isn't it awful what's happening in Ukraine? When Ukraine first happened, the Irish people opened up their doors and we welcomed the Ukrainian people. We had so many people and so many households registering to become host families. And indeed, with passage of time, the Céad Míle Fáilte, it did wear thin. So now we are left in a situation, and whether we like it or not, we are tied up into into terms and regulations with Europe. And we have done very, very well as an island nation from Europe in terms of investment of ERDF and ESF funding. Now we're left, and we have 100,000 Ukrainians here in Ireland. What are we to do? Are we to say no, there's no room at the inn?
Yeah.
Are we really do we really say that?
Yes, we do, yes.
Okay, we'll let the candidates speak now. Go ahead.
She asked the question.
We have a moral obligation. We have a legal obligation.
No, we don't.
We have a legal obligation.
No, we don't.
As Europeans.
We don't. We do not.
Just like every other country in Europe.
Stop lying.
Just like every other country in Europe, we have a legal obligation.
No, we don't.
I disagree.
What are you going to do about it?
What can we do? We are local.
What will you do as a councillor?
We are not going for the Dáil. We are local candidates going for local government in Castlebar. What I would like to do is get more transparency. More transparency.
No, please.
And I think when you have a vacuum and when you don't have any information, that's where the hysteria builds up, that there's hundreds of refugees fleeing in to Knock. We need to have constructive, positive dialogue between Mayo County Council and the department, and to get the facts and find out exactly. And there's a leadership role here and a responsibility on local candidates for us to come together.
Well, it's not coming from you.
What they did in Castlereagh, a joint statement between all politicians from political parties came together and they issued a statement that there was 14 families coming to Castlereagh and they worked together, and there was no single men exactly coming to Castlereagh. We need to show leadership.
Okay, we'll stop it at that. Mark Devane. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, first, the EU Migration Pact, we have an opt-out with Denmark under the Lisbon Treaty. Denmark apparently is
Well played, Mark.
So, be truthful. Now, we'll say, what can I do? At the minute, I'm not elected. My party has strong views on this. It's, we'll say, for example, we wanted detention centres set up at airports and ports over a year ago. Our leaders were called far right. The government parties now are on about introducing it because it's an election year and they want to buy votes. Regarding knock, apparently 6 months it'll take to get that building up and going. If it does. Most building jobs take longer than what's planned. But we'll say it's 6 months. We have local elections next week. If you vote for independence, message, and the government parties will hopefully have bad elections. If the government parties have bad elections, I believe that the government will collapse under its own weight, and we could have an early general election. It's a process. So the first step in the process is the local elections.
But the question is, what will you do? What will you do, Mark?
I just said, right now, all I can do is I can stand and protest with you. I can, because I signed the form.
Presuming you get elected now next week, what will you do then when you're councillor?
Well, you see, that's it. While I'm a councillor, while this government is in place, I'm fighting a losing battle. What we need is we have to get the government that's in place out, and we have to get new people in, because it starts at the foundation. That's where democracy starts, at the foundation. If you want change at the top, you start at the bottom. You build a good foundation. You need unity. There's no point putting independence in, we'll say, the local elections and then voting in, we'll say, the government parties. It's conflict of interest. We've different ideas. So you start at the local elections and you vote for independence. Then when the general election happens, you don't vote for the government parties, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of the opposition parties, a lot of them, they're singing from the same hymn sheet, even if they're saying they're not.
Okay.
So basically, that's it. I will stand with you. I signed the form. I'll be down there. I have the barrel ready and the crate, and I'll be there. Same thing as I was in Crossboyne. I was stood outside the Ulster Bank. I couldn't make it to the aircon building. I had cow scaffing that night. But I'll be there. I give you my word. That's all I can do with the position I'm in right now.
Okay, thank you. Geraldine Kelly, independent.
I'd like to welcome people here from, I'd like to welcome people here from Knock, because I went over there last night, and you know what I told everybody not to do? I told everybody Knock not to vote for the 13 candidates, because I said, if you put your name on the ballot paper and you don't have the guts or the BALLS to stand up and face the music and Knock, then you don't deserve to be elected.
100%.
And that's what I said. And the people in Knock know I said that, because I took the mic and I told the truth of what happened in my experience in Ballinrobe on the 5th of January 2024. And we were told it was set in stone by a councillor in the town at 7:45, and we're told to go home, that the 50 men were coming into Kansas and like it or lump it, roll up your sleeves and get on with it. And we told the councillor, well, we're staying put. And at 2:30 in the morning, 2 boys rocked up, one from Kilkenny and one from Ceallaigh. The guy from Ceallaigh was a security guard, ex-army. I'm getting into the building, and I said, not on my watch. And he went back to Ceallaigh and he said he never met a woman like me. And God love him, he mustn't be used to a Ballinrobe, Mayo, proud woman, an Irish woman. But by Jesus, he hasn't come back to Ballinrobe since. So I think
So the question now What would you do regarding Knock? What would you do?
Knock is not.
We heard what you did in
Yeah,
Ballinrobe,
okay,
and it's
I'm-
admirable.
yeah, okay,
What would
right.
you do for Knock to answer
Right.
this man?
In my personal opinion, Knock is totally unsuitable for 3 IPAS centres. The 3 of them should be not go ahead, because Knock is a holy place.
Correct.
And if anybody knows anything, myself and my husband went there when the Pope came. Knock survives on tourism, and no tourist will come to Knock with 3 IPAS centres.
100%.
So the message will go out to Tom Gilligan, who won't shut down the halfway house in Ballinrobe, but by Jesus, you're going to shut down Knock, the 3 IPAS centres. Because I'm telling you, I have a first cousin out in New York, and he is very popular out there, and he's gone worldwide what happened in Ballinrobe. And we got results in Ballinrobe in the last 29 days, thanks to my first cousin. And he's watching Knock, and he says, that's a holy place, it shouldn't be allowed, and I don't care. We've done our share, so I want the Irish government to opt out. The ones that are not allowed in here, send them packing, and that's it, in the story.
Yes.
What would you do? What would you do?
I have to get elected first. I'm
The
like,
question is, if they elect you, what will you do?
well, I stood out in the Baltic conditions, and I will support the people in Knock if there's protests.
Okay,
100%.
that's fine. Okay, Aaron Kelly.
Árón.
I suppose it's worth noting, actually, on that question about Knock, of the 4 of the 6 candidates that are up here tonight, were outside protesting against Belmont Hotel not becoming an IPAS centre. I know the question specifically is, what will I do if elected? But actually, I'm going to answer the question first, whether I'm elected or not. I will continue to do what I have been doing in this country for years, going around supporting local communities that are trying to protest these IPAS centres. I heard there we have international obligations and legal obligations, the same old line that is trotted out time and time again. At what point do we have obligations to the Irish people?
Exactly. 100%.
Okay, so can you address the question, Aaron, please? Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. So, if I actually got elected, I will continue to do the same thing as I was saying the last couple of nights in Belmont. If elected, it's going to change nothing. Not immediately. Anything on the political end of things, which is very, very limited at the local council level, is going to take ages to actually introduce. The Belmont Hotel does not have that time. So, I will be out there, this needs to get sorted beforehand by the people of Knock. And what I'm actually suggesting to do is, as I was suggesting last night, we need to be very, very careful. The people of Knock need to be very, very careful, because there's a tried and true formula for how the government deals with these protests. First of all, they try to tell everybody, no outsiders, there can be no outsiders here. That is absolutely nonsense.
Correct.
Knock needs to have support from all surrounding areas before it comes to their area. The second thing is this women and children only trick that is also played. Yep. We saw this play out in Ballinrobe. So you're told it's going to be an IPAS centre. We're not quite sure who, everybody's concerned about unvetted foreign men coming in, and then you're told you're getting women and children only. And that, in Ballinrobe, split the whole group straight down the middle. Whether it's women and children or single men, the pressure on the local services and all of it is exactly the same. The Irish taxpayers getting the same bills.
But specifically the question,
what will you do? So I will move on. I do apologise. So specifically, if elected, I have very limited power in what I can do. And again, what I will do is what I've been doing for years. I will ask the hard questions. Much as somebody else said there, I will bring transparency with the camera to the Director of Services of Mayo County Council, Tom Gilligan, and say, how is this that you seem to be the sole controller of what goes on in Claremorris and County Mayo, and why the local representatives have no power whatsoever?
Okay.
My first thing will be is to ask the hard questions and try to get some clarity for the people of Claremorris and Knock on what's going on in their area.
Okay,
thank you very much.
And Sandra Sweetman, Independent.
Hi, phrase, last again. I knew it was SS would be last, but it doesn't work.
Well, I'll put you first the next time. There's
okay.
a promise.
No, you're grand. I'm only joking. What I'm going to say is one point. From coming from Dublin, I've noticed many of the detention centres and the iPads for the people coming from different countries are just they're placed in certain positions in places around even Dublin as well. You'd never see them in the leafy suburbs of Malahide or Sutton or whatever. We've had our own, like, say, place like Rush, Lusk, whatever, where I'm originally from, Swords. But
Would that have to do with available properties though in the area?
Well, just kind of happens overnight as well. So it's kind of a countrywide that the house can get done up very, very quickly for people coming from, say, Ukraine or, you know, in modular housing.
Albania.
Done very, very quickly. But for anyone else on lists for years and years, we're on permanent lists. And I know everyone needs a house, a place to go. It's a fundamental right to have a house, and it affects your health as well. But also the fact is, I don't know enough about Knock at the moment. I didn't attend the meeting last night, but we all have to communicate together, and we all have to get the rights of the county councillors back to the people to actually, I think that's the best thing. We've divided up the health authorities around the country, and we used to have northern, west and eastern health board, and now the councillors have lost control of the actual, as a local government, local authority, they need to get control back to people and work together and fight for the community and work with the community.
So how will you do that? What will you do?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
People elect you,
if I get elected, I'll be limited, but I think from starting off as an independent, I think we have to get the powers back to the local councillors about planning permission, about authorities as well. And I don't think we have that power anymore. It's all going to big guns, or it's being dictated to by Europe also as well. And we know what's happened in Europe before this, and even now with migration and rules. Because I know, living in France, and I have lived in France as well, there's tight controls. There are tight controls, and I've lived through the health service there and migration over there as well. And that's all I can say. Honestly.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed. Now, Paul had wanted to come in on that there, so I'm going to take Paul for a minute. I'm not going to get involved now in a slagging match about this, and we will change the topic after this. So, Paul, you just wanted to come in there on something?
Look, I just want to come in there. You know, I think I was accused of whipping up hysteria. And I see you're nodding there. And look, I don't think this should be a personal attack, Alma, to be fair. What I organised yesterday was a community meeting. I've held meetings right across Mayo for the last 5 years. One in relation to a very important landfill issue that all councillors attended, a community meeting. And the meeting I held yesterday evening, 200 people, over 200 local people attended. You know, this was a community meeting to discuss the situation. And with regard to the comment just in relation to hysteria, I don't know what you're referring to. There was no hysteria whipped up by me. And can I just make the point, please, Anna? The reason people are concerned is because there's a vacuum of information that the government are not actually telling the people what is happening. Correct. You know, this is days after the leaked document. I've wrote to every single government and opposition TD and councillor, and yet we have still no idea what the plan is for the Belmont Hotel. So, you know, I think that is the big issue, and that is one of the reasons around the level of fear, because the government, 2 years after this crisis has begun, 2 years of listening to government politicians calling for public consultation. Meanwhile, they've introduced a planning circumvention that purposely prevents people from engaging in that process and telling people what's happening. And just with regard, if I might finish on this, John, with relation to the EU Migration Pact, you know, we hear government politicians constantly talking about our EU international obligations, and yet this government wants to sign up to more obligations. The EU Migration Pact, which this government will ram through, is going to be detrimental with regard to
Alma wants to come in, make a short response to that, and I'm closing out that subject in at that point.
It's not getting personal here. It's just that I've canvassed Knock, I've had people from Knock ringing me, and when you have a 65-bedroom derelict hotel, and when you have older people and vulnerable people ringing you, where there's a candidate going and saying there's hundreds of refugees coming to Knock. There's no, yes you did, Yes, you did. There's hundreds of refugees.
Look, I live on a road and there's a B&B that has planning permission for it. You're lying through your teeth, you are. You're lying.
Hold on a minute now. Just please, no, please. We're not going to accuse anybody of lying.
You're ignorant. You are ignorant. Yeah.
Okay, please.
With that, we need to get more information from the
John, I've been
department.
accused of
Yes.
lying. Hold on.
Okay.
I've been accused of lying.
Not
And I
at
have
all.
Hold on a
No,
second.
I want you to take back that
Just
point.
finish.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Have you finished, Alma?
Alma,
Or
I know
finally,
it's
We don't want to
Alma,
hear it.
I have never said, either on video, on publication, that there will be hundreds of refugees coming to the Belfast.
What have you said?
Clarify
what you have said.
That is absolutely incorrect, and I would
No,
appreciate.
what have you said?
No, I would appreciate if you take that back.
Well,
Paul,
I'm not
I
into-
won't take it back because it's actually on the record, so I will not take it
What
back.
did you claim you said, Paul?
No, John, this is very serious. No, this
I
is
agree
very
with you,
serious.
but what
I've
did
been
you say?
accused.
What did you say?
What he said is
Gallagher, you're a liar.
What did you say? Hold it now, please. Please, hold it. Please, Paul, what did you say? What specifically did
I
you say?
said very clearly.
Nobody mentioned numbers.
Absolutely, I said very clearly that the local community were very concerned in relation to the Belmont Hotel,
What
which is the
numbers did you
case.
say? What
And I
indication did
stated
you
very
give
clearly
of
that
quantity of people? What indication did you give of quantity?
The building has the capacity, which it does, to accommodate hundreds of people.
Okay.
I haven't said anywhere
Okay.
that is going to happen.
Okay.
No, I absolutely have not. And if the government wanted to be honest about this, they would come out and clarify their plans for the Belmont and not accuse me of lies. And that is a lie. I'm very disappointed that
Alma
you
does
take
not
that back.
represent the government, as we said. She's not an elected politician.
Alma, you're going to take it back.
No, but she's a liar.
You accuse me of a lie.
No,
You accuse me of saying something. You're going to take
please.
it back.
You're not going to
Are
take
you
it
going
back.
to?
I'm not taking
She's
it
not
back,
taking
no.
it back. We'll move on. Any other question? Any other subject? We're not going to revisit. That's that dealt with now. Gentleman there in the middle at the back, please.
How could anyone even want to be a member?
Microphone there, sorry, microphone. Could you state your name for the start, please?
Tommy Banks, yeah. How could anyone
What's your name?
want
Sorry,
to be
can we get your name? We can hear it, please.
Tommy Banks.
Tommy Banks.
How could anyone even want to be a member of Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil? There are the two baby butchering parties in Ireland. Since 2018, 40,000 unborn children have been butchered through the laws these government
Hold on a
brought
minute
in.
now. I did say at the start that we weren't going making speeches, we want to ask a question. Have you a
Okay.
question to ask?
I asked the question, if any of these candidates get elected, will they do something to stop the Holocaust of abortion, where this government won't even give pain relief to babies being butchered out of their mother's
Hold
wombs?
for a second now. I'm not absolutely certain that that's a question for local election candidates, to be honest.
Well,
I think
Yes, it is. It is.
it's a question for government, and I don't think it's a local election issue.
What's their view? What's their
It's a
view?
vital issue. It's a
What's their
sport
view?
I'm not disputing the validity of the question. I just don't think the question is appropriate for local election candidates.
Of course it is. What's their view?
Specific
It's
question.
appropriate.
Of course it is appropriate.
Appropriate.
Okay.
Mayo people are being killed.
Yeah, go ahead, Sandra. Yeah, give Sandra the microphone.
That law has already been passed or whatever, and I don't think anyone's view needs to be asked here this evening.
So what is your view?
So,
What is your view?
No, we're not.
No
gonna-
comment.
We're not going to take that.
So you're no comment, yeah?
You're videoing this as well, so-
I am, yeah. I am.
Take it. Thanks. Any other question?
Thank you.
Any other question? Any other question?
She said it at the start.
Any other question?
Pro-abortion.
Any other question?
Thank you now.
Please. Any other question?
Yes, I have a question here.
Good
My
man,
name's Brian
yeah.
Cohen.
What's
Just
your
a
name?
quick question there.
Name, please.
Brian Cohen, Claremorris.
Brian Cohen.
Yes, me. Listen, quick one there. I know the other councillors that are here, not here, partying with the balls to be here anyway. But the thing is, we want transparency in Claremorris. We want to know what exactly, like, guys, if he get in, will he get transparency for us? What's happening in the Aircon building in Castle McGarrett? Because it's just gone dead in the water. We want to know exactly what's happening. People in Claremorris aren't happy.
Is that the immigration question again?
Correct, but it's not, no, this is about Claremorris where
Okay,
are now at the
we'll take
moment.
one very quick leak on that, and I'm not going to spend long on it because I want to move on to other topics. Aaron Kelly, quick, 20 seconds.
20 seconds, okay. Listen, if you know me, I know a lot of people don't, perhaps go and look at my YouTube channel. I'm sure even Mark here and
No,
Paul
answer,
here.
please
No.
answer specifically. Go on.
I can come across sometimes as very confrontational. because I say the things that other people are afraid to say, and I ask the questions that other people are afraid to ask, and I demand an answer, and I'm firm whenever I don't get the answers. So absolutely, transparency is really the only thing I'm actually going to be able to achieve in Mayo County Council.
That'll do. Thanks very much. Thank you. Sandra, what will you do regarding Claremorris?
I'll do my best for Claremorris, as if I do get elected. But I also all candidates.
No, regarding the Aircon building and the other building that we talked about.
I need to find out I need to find out the information, but I definitely feel that nobody should be cross-hackled here tonight and accused of something as well. They have to be respect for your potential candidates as well, respect for everyone in this room. That's what I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
And I respect for the community and work
Okay,
with the community
waffle.
and work with the local authority and do my best and be transparent.
Okay, thank you. Mark, do you want to get in on that? What you do about the specific buildings in Claremorris?
Yeah, I love transparency. But I was in Crossvine when there was a couple of councillors over there, and one of them was from one of the government parties. And he was asked about it, and in fairness, he said he wasn't happy with it. But he said, there's nothing I can do. It's coming from the top. And you see, while the current government is in place, their councillors
well, you made that point
anything.
earlier, and I appreciate the point. But thanks. So specifically in relation to this, to answer the question from the gentleman there, what do you do?
I'll keep asking the questions.
Okay.
That's all we can do at the minute.
Okay.
And we're not getting any information.
Okay,
We're not.
thank you.
From
Jeremy?
anyone. You know that. We've all been over there. All we can do is keep asking the questions, keep putting pressure on.
Okay, thank you.
And keep going like that.
Jeremy, what will you do?
In relation to Castle McGarrett, Midwest Radio has already interviewed the owner, and he has categorically stated it's on their internet page that it's not going to be an iPass centre. So I have taken that man's word, and unless something changes, I don't know. Now, people are speculating about the Aircon building. So we need Tom Gilligan, we need a public meeting here in Claremorris, and we need them to come and to speak to the people. There's only the 7 people missing tonight, and they're the people to ask the questions. And unfortunately, I'm not elected, but they're the people to ask. And it should be a public meeting by Mr. Gilligan, by Mayo County Council, and we, the people of South Mayo, from Ballinrobe to Knock South to North to Shrule Kong and back to Ballinrobe, demand answers.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, what do you do?
Thanks, Brian, for the question.
20
The
seconds,
first thing to say, I'll have a backbone on this issue, and I've been raising this issue, and us and A2 have been raising this issue, finding out important information through parliamentary questions. In fact, most of the information in relation to this topic, whether it's deportation orders, whether it's the fact that the vast majority of people are actually applying to the IPO office and not through the ports, and the government aren't even calculating or processing the information with regards to where those people came from. A huge amount of information is coming through into. We have been highlighting it long before it became, I will be transparent and I will be honest and I will fight for the people of this area, and I'll have a backbone. I'll stand with the people, and I won't bow to party leadership either.
Okay, thanks very much, Paul. I know what do you do.
I think there's one thing that we all have in common, is that all of us want constructive dialogue. We want to fill this void and we want more information. Whether you're in Knock or Claremorris, all of us want constructive dialogue. What I want to do is, I want to ask Mayo County Council, let's have the register, see what their sites they have in mind in terms of potential iPass centres. Is it one? How many is involved? And let's have more dialogue with the community, that this scaremongering and whatever's going on, the hysteria, that we can sit down with communities, that communities have an opportunity to mobilise themselves, to have the committees and to have the time and the respectfulness to do that. And then we can have some constructive dialogue between Mayo County Council, the department and the community.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mark, yeah, go on.
Alma, you've said hysteria now a few times. I think that's kind of disrespectful to the people of the area, saying they're getting hysterical about it. They're very right.
No, I didn't say that people are being hysterical. I said as leaders and as candidates, We can't be instigating hysteria by coming out and having statements that the Belmont Hotel, which is €65, has the potential. Okay, we'll have to...
Well, just stop.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
I'm not going back to the Belmont Hotel.
We have to
I'm not going back.
have a
I'm not going
responsibility
back.
there.
We're not going revisiting the Belmont Hotel.
Well,
the
the simple
question
reason
was
is-
specifically about Claremorris. And Mark, do you want to come in on that point or not?
Just one thing about
Thank you.
65 rooms, they're not going to be one bed.
That's not nothing
Yes,
to do
well,
with
I
this.
just said I
It's
get that
separate
bit.
point.
It's not
Separate
going to be
point.
one bed.
Separate point. Separate point. We sent to it.
But it is Ceallaigh. Like, I mean, people have the right to be worried, and you can't say that we're fear mongering. We're not. These are intelligent people. They can think for themselves.
Okay.
We don't tell them how
Okay.
to think. They're worried. They have a right to be worried.
Okay, that's
I'm
right.
worried.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Any other questions? Yes, gentleman here.
Porrick McHugh is my name. I'm just wondering, the current sitting councillors had a pact as the meeting a couple of months ago that with the migrants they would have no further dialogue or contact. They wouldn't cooperate with Mayo County Council over it until something was sorted. If each year elected, are you going to cooperate with Mayo County Council? The aircon building down here, we all know is going for iPass.
Okay.
The owner himself has.
Okay, Porrick.
I want to know.
I'm not going back. I'm not. No, I'm not going
I
to.
want to know from the people sitting here tonight.
We've spent 40 minutes.
If we have
40 minutes discussing one issue.
It's going to take 1 minute.
There must be other issues. It won't take 1 minute because
if we have
every
a
one of them
peaceful
will want
protest,
5 or 6 minutes
if we have a
themselves.
peaceful protest down at the gates of the aircon building, how many of you are going to come down and stand with us?
Okay,
That's
I'll
the
answer that.
I'll be
And
standing
okay,
there,
hold on,
Richard.
hold on a minute.
I'll be standing there.
Okay, I just got to. The way we're going to deal with this question is, how many of you will attend the peaceful protest if it's held at the aircon building? Simply a show of hands. No need for microphones. Many have we. Okay. Any other
That's a
questions?
pretty loaded question, John. A peaceful protest. Protesting against what? We don't know. What are we protesting against?
Oh, would you?
No.
Well, you're right.
Okay,
It'd be great
okay.
to have the information.
Okay.
We're not getting information.
What I want is the information, Mark. That's what I want, is the information.
Ask your government.
Okay, okay.
Against the plantation of Ireland.
Okay,
That's what I want.
thanks,
It's against the
thanks very
plantation
much
of
for
our
everybody
country.
now that has asked questions so far. I want to move the subject on. Is there any other topic you want to ask questions about? We're not visiting any more of this now. We're changing the subject. Anything else here? Any other questions?
This is the only concern people have.
Is there any other questions? Any other topics? Any other questions?
Michael Swords from Ballyhonnet. I'd just like to say tonight that discussion is one thing, but what has happened here tonight is not a discussion. First of all, we should compliment and thank the 6 candidates that turned up and give them a round of applause. It's not going to happen, obviously.
I tell it to finish, yeah. I tell it to finish.
Okay.
What's your question now, Michael?
It's not a question, John.
No,
it's a statement, really. These
Okay.
people are to be thanked for coming here tonight, not abused.
Okay, I appreciate that. Any questions? Any other questions? Any questions? Any questions? Gentleman over here on the right-hand side near the sound booth. And your name, please?
Hi, my name is David Brown, and I have a question about the issue of crime in the country. Geraldine made a good point that we need to solve the issue of increased crime in the country. My question is, my concern is that if we increase public spending of Gardaí, and the Gardaí have a monopoly on force, my concern with that would increase corruption if they have more money in the Gardaí.
Okay, I can't let that pass now, that's going to increase corruption. Sorry, you have a specific question now. Have you a specific question around that for the 6 candidates? And allegations about corruption are unfounded and unfair. You might believe that there might be corruption, whatever, but I'm not entertaining allegations of corruption. The role of this here is for you, the audience, to ask specific questions of the candidates. It's meet the candidates. That's what this is about. So what is your question, please?
My question is, do you think there should be more localised police forces rather than just one national police force?
Okay, that's the question. Thank you very much indeed, David, for the question. I'll start over here on the left-hand side with Sandra.
Going back about 15 years ago, I remember the time roughly about Alan Shatton decided, the former Minister of Justice, decided to close a lot of the guard stations in rural Ireland, in towns and villages rather than the country, and then someone else decided in post offices. We have to protect the communities, but we also have the local guard station that was really essential in the environment as well. We have an old one in Russia now for Ceallaigh. That's very important, but I think that was, society has changed. We have a bigger population, I know that, and I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of why we have a bigger population, but it was part of the community. It was part, like your post office, like your local, there was respect, and everyone should have respect for everyone here tonight. I'm just going to go over that again, and I respect for everyone here in the audience. But the local guard station, we need to have the locals, and a lot of them are closed or only 4 or 5 hours, and it is a problem. It is, even reporting crime, because I had to report an accident one day and I was told it's the wrong guard station. I had to go to Swinford, and then I was told I live in Claremorris, so I reported it to Claremorris and was followed up by Swinford, and that's great. And I would have great regard for the fire services, the guards, the ambulance nurses, people, because they're going through what we go through a lot, and I can relate to people. But I think the main thing is we have to work together as communities and also reporting crime and be looking after our neighbour as well.
Should there be 2 police forces though? Should there be more than 1 police force and not just the Gardaí? Was that the essence of your question, David? Yeah.
Well, what
So should
like
there be more?
Like an army police?
Well,
like
and some other organisation other than just An Garda Síochána? Was that essentially your question, David? Should there be more than 1 police force?
I'm asking, do you think it would be better if we had more local-based police forces rather than a national police force?
So would they be under An Garda Síochána, or would they be a separate body?
Have guard reserves, maybe it's more guard reserves as well.
No, just clarify, David. Is it a separate body, or is it under An Garda Síochána? A separate body. Separate body. Should we have a separate police force? Yes or no?
I think we need to have local police, but then it's the recruitment is the problem. Like
But would they be part of An Garda Síochána or not, in your view? Should they or not?
Well, I think we should have local. We should have local
But
involved.
would you answer the question, please? Should they be
trying to
part
think
of
of the answer.
under An Garda Síochána, or would
Well,
they be
it's
a
not a
separate?
national guard force in the country. I mean, we don't have a place like France has their army police. We have one Garda Síochána, and we've guard reserves. That's all I'm aware of.
Okay, all right,
So I'm
yeah.
going to leave it at that.
And move on to Geraldine. Should we have an alternative to the An Garda Síochána? Should there be another body, of policing body there as well?
Well, the way things are going, we need something. The Gardaí I was talking to the last day, they have to cover, in case you don't know, you have to cover Claremorris, Knock, Ballinrobe. Ballinrobe's open for 4 hours out of 168 hours, so it's closed for 164 hours in a week. It's absolutely shocking in 2024. People are saying to me on the doors in the last 26 days, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, coming home at 4.
Geraldine, in fairness, that's not answering or addressing the question that David asked. The question that David asked is, should we have a second or subsequent police force other than An Garda Síochána?
I think the army should be on the streets because it make people safe. I don't think why people have to be locked in the doors 24/7, and that's what's happening now because people have to put their hand in the pocket and get CCTV cameras. And when I go knocking on the doors, people will not come out because they're afraid that I'm not who I am. And candidates are getting phone calls and saying, "Get off my property." That's the reality of South Mayo in 2024, and something has to happen. The guards are sick of it. I'm sick of it, and I say people here are sick of it.
So you favour having an additional police force other than An Garda?
Yeah.
Right. Alma, yes or no?
I think we need to have 1 police force, but it needs to be invested. We need more resources. There is a problem with recruitment and retention, and that definitely needs to be looked at.
Okay.
But 1 police force, I think we need to have more body cams, we need to have more protection for the force.
Okay.
And oftentimes I think it's too top heavy. We need to have more foot soldiers on the ground, especially in my own town of Ballyhonus. We had a station there that was open 24/7, that now is restricted service. We need to have our police stations opened 24/7. We have a growing population and the service needs to reflect that.
Okay, thank you, Alma. Paul.
Thanks very much, David, for the question. Look, crime is certainly a big issue. There's been a big spike in crime in this area, and no doubt it has is a result of a correlation between the falling numbers of guards locally and a spike in crime. Last year, this government saw fit to give Mayo just one new recruit in the entire county of Mayo, despite a significant increase in population and certainly an increase. I do believe that there are certainly issues in Garda Síochána. I do believe that I think we should have one force, but I think that we should have a watchdog that's over, ensuring there's oversight. And I do believe that we should have a commissioner of policing who will listen to the views of the GRA. The GRA voted 99% no confidence in relation to Drew Harris. Serious issues on Garda Síochána. Drew Harris, the Taoiseach, the Taoiseach all stated, effectively the views are being ignored, and the commissioner is running roughshod over
thank you
them.
very much. Mark, should we have an additional police force other than just on Garda?
No, enough things are overcomplicated in this country. What we have to do is incentivise people to join the Guards and to keep the Guards, because there's too many leaving. That's the problem. We've Garda stations closed all over the country. Even in Ballandine, there's accommodation upstairs. Guards have raised families in that accommodation in years gone by. Why can't it be done now? It's left there, nothing done with it. So we need state-provided accommodation support, because with the cost of living, like the Guards, the Australian Guards came over a month or two ago to Dublin recruiting. I don't know the figures, have they come out yet, but I guarantee you an awful lot of them are going to go, and I wouldn't blame them with the way it's going at the minute.
Just to answer David's question, you don't think we should have a second force? There should be more investment or whatever in the existing force, but we shouldn't split it into two or more.
No, we shouldn't, because there's too much overcomplication done in this country as it is.
Point noted, yeah. Grant.
Gain more people, give them a reason to join and to stay.
For these forces.
Now, speaking last year, obviously some of the guys here made some of the points that I was going to make. I actually would like to really thank David for that question. That's an incredibly interesting question. And when he asked it, he mentioned the word corruption, and you were cutting them out. But so now it's gone guards and two forces, and I didn't think that was the essence of the question. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I imagine this young man has seen the fact that we have a Garda force that is run by a Deputy Chief Constable of the RUC, and we have seen numerous times now, Newton Mount Kennedy being the obvious most visual, of Garda Síochána beating peaceful Irish men and women off the streets. Sorry,
back to the essence of the question. Should policing be split between two bodies?
I understand why the man who asked the question is concerned and thinks that might be a possibility. And whenever we have a Garda Síochána beating peaceful Irish people off the streets, I definitely think, well, do you know what? Maybe we should have a conversation about it.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other question? Any other question? Yes, gentleman here.
My name is Guy Carlton. I just wanted to ask, if we were fortunate enough to elect a lot of independents, would we nonetheless have to suffer the dictatorship from Castlebar?
Okay, good question. Okay, thanks very much, Guy, for the question. I'll start with Árón this time. We'll go this way.
It certainly seems that way, doesn't it? Because we've already mentioned, I don't want to go over it again, it doesn't appear that the county councillors in Mayo County Council have any say whatsoever. They voted, they passed a motion not to cooperate with Roderick O'Gorman's department, and nothing happened. So, face value, from what I can understand at the moment, it does look that way. But if elected, I intend to change that.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Yeah, it won't be easy, and I'll go back to the same point. Local politics is where it starts, but it's directed from government. So if you've got the current government there, it's going to make it awful there. There's a conflict of interest. If there's a lot of independents in the lower section, in the local elections, we'll say, that get elected, but you've got the current government in place, very hard to change anything. as Árón said, we'll keep shouting, we'll keep trying, but I'm going to keep saying it again. We have to change from the bottom to the top, and it starts at the bottom.
Thanks very much. Of course, it should be noted that neither of them are independents. Both of you are aligned to a party.
Yeah, independent.
Another party man here, Ainto's Paul Lawless.
Yeah, I'm running with A2. I have a running colleague in Smilford as well who's doing incredibly well. So hopefully after the 7th of June we'll have 2 new A2 candidates in Mayo, and we certainly will fight for the people of the area. So I'm not independent. I've been working really hard over the last few years with A2, a new political party, Patrick Tobin's party, a great man, a man with great integrity.
Not dispute, none of that's in dispute, Paul. The question the guy asked was, if there's a whole load of independents elected, is it still going to be a dictatorship from Castlebar, to the man's own words?
Well, I do think that voting and changing our vote will send a message to the government, and the more government candidates and politicians that lose seats, essentially will result in a change of direction from government. We saw in 2019, when you remember there was a green wave across the local elections, and Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil immediately after the election sought to position themselves in that green way. And I think if we elect A2 candidates and good independents with standing up for common sense and standing up for their people, I have no doubt that we will see a shift in direction from the mainstream parties. We saw that after the referendum campaign. We saw Simon Harris talking about common sense, going back to bread and butter issues, and that would not have been the narrative if that referendum was passed. So thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Alma?
Well, look, it's a pretty loaded question.
Alma, of course, is a Fine Gael candidate. Yeah.
It's a pretty loaded question, but I'm just going to flip it on its head, if you like. I am part of Fine Gael. I believe in Fine Gael, and I believe in myself in terms of what I stand for as a person. And I know that there's a lot of anger and frustration, and I want to acknowledge that in the room this evening. But I'll flip it on its head in that, in terms of rural Ireland, in terms of services, roads, infrastructure, I do believe that in terms of aligned to the government, that we have a pretty strong party, no matter what some people in the room may believe. But if we have independence, that's fair enough. There's going to have a lot of work there in terms of forming alliances. Everyone's going to be batting for their own corner. But when you have a party that you can go to in terms of lobbying, and that's what I intend to do as an elected representative, is to be lobbying to the Dáil in terms of trying to represent the constituency here in the Claremorris electoral area, in terms of roads, infrastructure and services.
Okay, thanks very much, Alma. And now we come to the 2 independents. So basically what I'm listening to from the last 4 is pretty much that you should be elected from these 4 people. Geraldine, we'll start with you. You're an independent. If more independents are elected, will it end the dictatorship from Castlebar?
Well, if I've anything to do with it, will, because I don't take any crap. I tell the truth, and I have been, how would you put it, in Ballinrobe. I'm basically sidelined because of my doing this and doing the protest. But I have 2 choices. I'm getting online abuse for the protests on 7th of January, so I have 2 choices. As she said here, flip it or commit suicide or jump in the River Robe. So I decided to put my name forward and stand up for what I believe in and the crap that's going on. I helped a homeless man in Ballinrobe, and when I rang Garda Síochána, this is what happened. They said, why were you helping the homeless man? Well, I said the 3 local candidates didn't want to know. I helped them, and I put it up on my Facebook page, and my blessed first cousin, I must buy him a pint when he comes to Ballinrobe again. He shared it in New York, and he said, fair fucks to you, because you weren't even elected and you got that fella a bed. That's what I did, and I wasn't even fucking there.
Well, I've always been very passionate, and I followed my gut, and I will lobby, even if I'm not in government at the moment, and I have been waiting to do that since I was about 10. But I definitely believe in emailing. Even next door to me, there's a house that was laid vacant for 6 months, and it was very unsightly, and now it's actually fully operational. Someone moved into it, but they had to wait at least a year. And I kept emailing the local council, even though I'm not known down to the county council, but I've always been emailing, like Dublin County Council, City Council, Dublin City County Council, I'm not afraid of hard work, and I will keep, but I definitely think there are ways and means of negotiating and conversing and working, obviously, if I was elected, to be working with the other parties and new ideas, fresh ideas, and another way. And you know what they say about change? You know, you have advocates of change, but how do you eat an elephant? Bit by bit.
Okay, thank you. So have we any other question? Question over here, lady here on the right. The left, actually, my right.
Hi, I'm Katrina Doherty. Just bringing it back to basics about services and facilities in Claremorris in particular. With the growing population, Claremorris is not fulfilling its needs in relation and demands for facilities for a community recreational centre for Claremorris. Surprisingly, for the size of Claremorris, there is no recreational community centre. There's no indoor sport facility that can accommodate for all the cancelled training sessions due to the climate change and obviously flooded pitches. There's no recreational space for teenagers to hang about. They're down in a playground that's basically designed for under 10s, making both, I suppose, age groups feel uncomfortable. So basically I'm working on a project trying to increase the facilities and try and develop a community recreational centre for Claremorris. And with that, I know there are plenty of funds and grants available. And basically, with those, you need to be on a prioritised list within the local authority. So I'm asking, my question is that, what can you do, if elected, to get this project across the line? Because Claremorris, for the growing population and diverse population, to be inclusive for all of those people, male, female, young and old, from all nationalities, we're not meeting the needs of our population and community. So in order to do so, what can you do to get this across the line? There's tight timelines as well on this, so how quickly can you act on it as well?
Okay, Katrina, thanks. Paul, we'll start with you.
Thanks very much, Katrina. Look, the issue of services in Claremorris is a big issue, and certainly for young people, it's a great town, but certainly in terms of sport, and indoor facilities could certainly be significantly improved. I'm a sportsman myself. I know the value of a sport plays in mental health and physical health, and it's increasingly important, especially in this age of huge digitalization and kids spending increasing amounts of times on phones, and that has a big effect as well. Winters are obviously getting wetter as well, and so we need to ensure that we do have the facilities. I will work with community groups to draw down, to comply with the different funding and ensure that Claremorris gets the resources it needs. And it is a great town, but there's a lot more we can do.
Okay, Paul, thanks. Mark?
Fairness, what Paul said, that's about all that can be done until we're in. And I know myself, because I do bring my own kids into the playground. It's not fit for purpose in there. It's too small for the population, and that's been brought up a lot in the doors. So like that, it's a case of, I'd like to work with yourself, and other people in the community will say that are involved in sports, clubs around. Sit down and talk, find out what you need, and then when I'm elected, fight to get it free.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Árón?
Thanks for the question. And you're saying back to basics, and I absolutely agree with this, but the question sounds a little bit, with respect, confused to me, because you're saying we don't have enough, the services can't cope, we don't have enough service there to cope with the expanding population. So how are we going to create the services to deal with this expanding population? And I think that's kind of getting a little bit back to front, because the lack of services that we're experiencing is a symptom of this expanding population. So shouldn't we be actually trying to deal with the cause of it? Do you want to let it come in there?
No, it was specifically about
basically
a complex or a building.
It's not due to the growing numbers of population, it's due to no facility currently ever in Claremorris, an indoor sporting facility. There's no teen space for the population of Claremorris, regardless of any incoming or growing numbers. I'm talking about statistics that villages around have actually community centres, they have recreation centres. Claremorris has never had an indoor sporting facility that can accommodate and provide facilities for all the indoor sport clubs that would need them for
Okay,
indoor
Katrina.
training, but due to all of our
Thank you very much, Katrina,
climate
for
change.
clarifying that. Yeah.
And that's a project you're working on there, yeah? Yeah, okay, I understand that now.
So the
but-
question is,
yes,
will you
I
support
understand.
that?
I understand. Yeah, my answer is fairly similar because, well, the answer to that question, of course, is lack of resources.
But,
So
no,
where
the-
is our
the-
resources?
the-
Where
but
are
the
our
question
resources
is,
going?
will you support it? Will you support that? Will you support the provision of that for Claremorris?
Would I support it in more sports for our young people? Well, of course.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Thank you.
But,
Okay. I go across here now to Sandra.
Well, being the paediatric nurse as well is very important for when we're building our homes to have green spaces outside and kids can play, and obviously recreational. Where we came from in Rush, we're still waiting for a sports stadium, and we'd have to share it with Rush and Scaries. It's very important that kids get outside, all age groups and all weathers and all weather pitches. I'll fully support that, and I'll keep fighting for that because it's very important. And there are plenty of grants out there, and I remember emailing Alma one time there about grants for, say, sports. And I'm not familiar with all the particular grants, but definitely there is money there to be spent, and it needs to be spent on facilities. And we'll work with the Katrina. Thank you for the question.
Okay, Geraldine.
I just have a few questions there for Katrina, because when is your deadline?
Well, there were a few grants, but the large infrastructure sports grant closing date for expression of interest is the 31st of July. There's up to basically, there's up to 60 million seemingly available, but obviously we wouldn't be going for that. It was 150 million altogether. We'd be looking for 2.5 grand, which means, 2.5 million, which means we'd have to fundraise ourselves or get donors and sponsors like that up to a value of 750,000. Basically, you have to have that fund basically available upon completion and basically a successful application. And you have to have planning permission put in, and obviously planning takes time, but the sooner you can move in these things,
It's an
better.
IPA centre.
Yeah. And just one comment I want to go back to into on is basically when you mentioned about smartphones. It's not only smartphones, by the way, it's also gaming consoles and smart TVs. It's just smart.
Okay.
Smart devices, it's not just phones.
Okay, Geraldine, just to finish your point.
Regarding the plan permission, have you a site already picked?
Rather than getting into the specifics of it, Geraldine, because we are getting tight on time, will you support it?
I'm trying to actually help her.
Okay, will you support it?
I will, of course.
That's
That's why I'm trying to get the
essentially the
information.
question.
It's just that she left out the date, and she didn't say have they got a site picked. I'm
Yeah,
trying
have you
to
signed?
help her.
We do,
Yeah, she does.
Okay, I just have you asked the three elected councillors in Claremorris for funding, because they have funding and we don't.
We have one engaged.
Okay.
And have you applied for the National Lottery? Have when you buy a lottery ticket, they say there's 4 million or whatever going into sports. Have you applied for a National Lottery grant?
No, because we've only just established the company, and you can't
Okay.
apply for those until you have a company.
Okay,
So,
would you support it, Geraldine?
I will, 100%.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm just trying to help.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Alma?
Thanks, Katrina, for that great question. And I suppose I've worked with rural and community groups for the last 20 years, so it's an area that I feel very passionate about. In terms of what I feel sometimes, there's a lack of information out there. Committees are coming together, they need to be supported, and I think that's definitely a role. The role of elected representatives has changed, and they need to reach out and to support community groups a lot more than they did. We have to realise as well that committee members like yourself, Katrina, are giving up their time on a voluntary basis, working during the day, raising a family, etc. So you're really taking time out of your valuable day in order to invest in being a part of a committee. We need to provide capacity building support to community groups like yourselves and provide access pathways to different funds. So for example, like a project like yourselves in Claremorris, we have the Leader Fund. There's 8.5 million there now just invested in the county through Leader. And there's a feasibility study there that you can access up to €30,000. You need matching funding there of 10%. So that'll actually get you your feasibility study, your business plan, your operational plan, all of the technical resources that you need there in terms of planning, etc., to get that into Mayo County Council, and also a business plan. There are funding opportunities out there, and I suppose never before has there been so much funding. It's just to get access to that funding from the department. So for example, the call has just finished there for €50,000 for community groups in terms of sporting. So definitely it's a project that I'd be very, very interested in terms of I work here in Claremorris, etc. So I'd definitely be interested and want to reach out to support your group. You're doing fantastic work, so well done.
Okay, Alma, thanks very much. Okay, so the brief from CRC was that this meeting stroke programme was to last an hour and a half. We've hit that time, we've actually exceeded it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give each of the candidates 1 minute, exactly 1 minute. Dara Burke on the sound desk, would you give him a round of applause? I'm going to give you so Dara, on my signal, will kill the mic if any of these people go over a minute. So I'm going to give each of the candidates 1 minute in case there's anything that they wanted to say that wasn't said. I don't want rehashing things that have been said already, just anything that they came in here tonight that they wanted to say, haven't had an opportunity yet to say it. 1 minute each, and I'll go the opposite way to the way we started tonight. So I'll start with Sandra, and we'll move it across to your left. So Sandra, starting with you in 60 seconds, is there anything you want to say? Or you can take less time if you like.
Thanks, John. Just finally, I never mentioned that I was actually a boutique owner for 12 years in Dublin, and we had was in Rushcant, Dublin, and we had ladies and children's clothing. But with the emergence of all the larger companies like Tesco's, we noticed very quickly that our baby grows and certain essentials, baby grows and christening wear, etc., or even baby wear, sales were lost. But we start in the recessions. If anyone's putting business people out there, we start in the recession, no business plan, and we start on a credit card. So I have a background in that. I've also taught English as a foreign language abroad. I've vested interest in children and also children with special needs as well, and also the care of the older person. And I'd like to see more services, more respite services, and more support for families, for growing families, and for the children as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. 49 seconds, the bar has been set. Geraldine.
Well, in all fairness, I'm going to give it fully my 60 seconds because I won't get the opportunity again, and by Jesus, I'm going to take it. So, anybody that knows me, my mum got a brain bleed and passed away 17 months ago, so I want to improve home care services. I want people to be paid a damn good wage when they come into an elderly home. I want them not to be rushing out the door, and if they're meant to get 45 minutes to my late mum or some elderly person in the community of South Mayo, they deserve it. They should get petrol expenses as well. The derelict buildings here in South Mayo is absolutely scandalous. I heard today that the local housing guy is given 2 million for Castlebar Town, Westport and Ballina. Fair play. 5.3 million to Ballyhonus. But by Jesus, where's the money for Knock? Where's the money for Claremorris? And where's the money for Ballinrobe, Kilmaine and Shrew? That's all I've got to say. And if you want a hard-working woman that tells the truth, tells it straight, no bullshit, vote me on the 7th of June. Thank you. The Mayor Gallagher.
Knock actually, that they got considerable investment there through the Community Futures and the refurbishment committee there in Knock, and they're doing fantastic work. But look, I can acknowledge that I am from Fine Gael, and you know what I mean, there's a lot of hostility here this evening. But in terms of my values and in terms of my work ethic, I can guarantee you that I am a hard worker. I got involved with politics because my family are here this evening as well, my daughter, my son and my mother, and I got involved in politics because my father was only 23 years of age when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I suppose our family life was very, very different to others, and that was the catalyst that motivated me to get involved with politics and to make change. And I suppose this is my way. We all have our different belief system here in the room, but we all have to be respectful as well of our belief system. And I'm a credible candidate. I want to make life better for the people here of the Claremorris constituency. I want to...
And you're nearly out of time.
Okay, and I want to help individuals and community groups like Katrina represents there. I want to increase the social housing stock here in Claremorris as well, and I want to do my best.
Thank you. And yeah, Paul Olive.
Thanks, John. Look, I have proven that I have, worked really hard for my community over the last number of years. I've helped hundreds of people get off waiting lists, people who would otherwise have been left essentially going blind, helping them get access to cataracts and other procedures over the last few years. I want to support farmers. I stood with farmers in 2019 during the beef protest. We introduced a bill to try to, ensure that farmers get a fair price for their produce. Currently, the factories, the processors and the supermarkets are taking the lion's share of the profits in that industry. I want to ensure that young people have an opportunity to build or buy their own homes here in this area, and we need to ensure that the planning process is rapidly increased, and we need to ensure that there's accountability in onboard Panola as well. I'm honest, I'm hardworking, and I will be transparent, and I want to say well done and best of luck to all the other candidates over the next couple of weeks. It's been a very busy campaign, and best of luck on the campaigns. But I'm asking you to please consider me for your number one on June 7th. Thank you.
Paul. Mark?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the reason that I decided to put my name in was basically for my kids, because I don't like the road we're going down. And if I'm doing this for my kids, I'm doing it for your kids, and I'm doing it for your grandkids. We're not looking for favoritism, we're looking for fair play. That's what we need. We don't want anything that we don't deserve. And we just need to push back and vote for change. If you vote the same, you'll get the same. I said this last night. Nothing will change. Vote for change. Give us a chance. We want to work for you. And on June 7th, if you could give me your number one, it'll be very much appreciated. I won't let you down. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And Árón?
If you want the immigration crisis in this country to get worse, if you want to continue to see Irish people homeless while non-nationals are given homes, if you want to see your children continue to be taught grotesque and indecent sexual material in schools, if you want to suppress the opinion of your fellow Irishmen by introducing hate speech laws, if you want to see Ireland become part of NATO, then continue to vote for Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin and the Green Party. If you want, as Mark just says here, if you want to give ordinary Irish men and women a chance, please consider me for number one, Irish people for number one in other constituencies, and independence of the whole country around. We need to get fresh blood in there, because what's in there at the moment has driven this country to ruin. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been your opportunity to meet the candidates. Just before we wrap up, I want to thank again Dara Burke, who was on the sound desk, who did this and has also managed part of the recording, which will be broadcast on CRC, or Claremorris Community Radio. I don't know the exact date and time yet of the broadcast, but that will be known very shortly. I'd like to thank the radio station as well for facilitating this and inviting me here. I'd like to thank you, the audience, for your questions, and also for your manners and respect, and also for the audience that are listening to the radio programme. I want to thank those also. And I want to thank the candidates. We had 6 of them here tonight, and whether you like them or dislike them or their party or anything like that, they are 6 individuals who have put their name forward. They have put themselves out there, and I think that they deserve a round of applause from all of you here, for everyone. We also have 7 other candidates who weren't here tonight, couldn't make it for whatever reason. We have Michael Burke of Fine Gael, Tom Connolly of Fine Gael, Richard Finn, Independent, Stephen Nolan, Fianna Fáil, Patsy O'Brien, Non-Party, Damien Ryan, Fianna Fáil, Eamon Phelan, Sinn Féin. So they haven't been able to be here, but they will be on the ballot paper as well. And my final word from you is that whatever party you believe in, or whether you believe in independence or change or the same or the government or whatever, make sure you go out and vote. We have the right to vote in this country. I believe personally that we have the best electoral system in the world, in the proportional representation system. You get to choose the order in which you want these candidates selected, right down to number 13 on that ballot paper. And please make sure you go out and vote. Thank you again for your time and attention, and thank you very much for being with us, and thanks to the listeners as well. Good night and safe home.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please